Thank Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. My name is Al. I work with UNLV Online. Thank you for being here this afternoon. This presentation is going to go over UNLV Tech 101. I work with UNLV as the online student support specialist. And so a lot of what I do is make sure things are accessible to online students and also help students with the tech. So I'm going to go through the basics, but if anyone has anything in particular they're looking at or have questions about as you've been getting ready to start, I'd love to know. Definitely want this to be useful to you. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and share my screen. So again, welcome to my presentation on UNLV technology. Um, the goals of this presentation are really to help you understand what tools you're expected to use. For me, I hope by the end of this presentation, you'll see, okay, it's all pretty easy once you get into it. Although, of course, we're always here to help troubleshoot or things do feel confusing. But for me, it just helps to feel like I know what to expect and I know how things are going to look. And so hopefully that kind of eases some of those pre-semester, pre-getting started stressors. And then also understanding how different things connect. There's a few different systems that you log into as a UNLV student. So just want to make sure you understand how everything connects. And then feel more confident as you get started. So those are my goals. But again, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat in case anyone does have any specific questions. But real quick, I would love to know what is your everyone's major gonna be? I know some of you might be undecided, which is totally fine. But if you wouldn't mind putting in your chat, what is your major? Accounting. Okay, that's awesome. Hospitality. Oh, and honors. That's so cool. I used to work in the honors college. That's a great place. Okay, nice. Yeah, our hospitality school is really good. So we got some numbers people here too. I was an English major, so definitely respect. Anyone else want to share their major? No pressure. Exploring. Okay, awesome. That's so exciting, actually. I think that's so smart to kind of leave your options open a bit. And our exploring advisors are really helpful. Architecture, nice. Okay, very cool. Computer engineering, more math, science people here, and economics. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So some kind of similar disciplines here. Um, Now, my next question, my second and last icebreaker question is on a scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable do you feel with technology? Do you feel like it's pretty easy to get started and you kind of can tell once you get into it, okay, 5, great. Or does it feel like a little bit harder, a little bit like walking 3.75? I like that. That's pretty good middle ground. 3, perfect. 4, very cool. Okay, nice. So pretty confident overall. I like that. That's good to know. 3. I feel like something that can feel a little confusing to me is when to use what different tools. So I hope to clear some of that up today. 4 to 5, like that. Okay. Very cool. Thank you for sharing, everyone. I really appreciate it. It's helpful for me to know. So I want to look at UNLV's digital ecosystem and what everything that you might log into or use while you're a student here. The main things. So you've probably heard of some of these things, if not all. But just as a reminder, there's a few different places you log in as a UNLV student. myUNLV, I like to think of it as kind of like your filing cabinet. It's where all your records are, your personal information. It's your administrative portal. So it's where you would go to register in classes, pay your bill, update your address, and everything like that. So we'll look at it in just a minute. But but that's essentially what you would use myUNLV for. Webcampus is where you take your online classes, and at UNLV we use Webcampus, which is through Canvas. So you may have used Canvas in the past, in which case it'll feel pretty familiar. But once you get in there, I think it's pretty easy to click around and kind of figure out where things are. We also will look at that. And then the Rebel Success Hub is for your support services. So if you want to schedule tutoring, advising with the Writing Center, those are all, you'll schedule them through the Rebel Success Hub. And we'll get a link directly to it if that's the case. You can also submit forms there, and you can reach out to like financial aid or cashiering. So if you need to reach out to someone for assistance, probably a place you might go is the Rebel Success. RebelMail is your email address, of course, which is run through Gmail. And then UNLV uses Google Workspace. So that would be like Google Docs, Google Slides. You have full access to Google Workspace as a UNLV student, which has a few extra features than the free version. And then you also have free access to the Microsoft Office, if you wanted it. So one or the other usually is what students use. So again, just quickly, I'm gonna switch over and we're actually gonna kind of look at these programs a little more closely in a minute, but just again, to kind of refresh your memory, you've probably seen myUNLV at some point. Again, this is where you would register for classes, pay your bill, and view your student record. I'll tell you kind of where the most important things are in that system. And then your email is going to be really important as you're a student. A lot of things are communicated over email. So you may or may not be used to checking your email now. Do people feel like they check email a lot? I'm genuinely curious. On a scale of 1 to 5 again, do you feel like you check email a lot? Like 5, you check it every day. 1, you never check your email. Just totally curious, actually. No pressure, but okay, 5, 3.5, 4. Okay, that's pretty good. I would say that's a pretty good amount. You don't have to, necessarily check it every day, but I would say keep a good eye on it. You will get regular updates probably almost every day or every week from UNLV, but really you want to pay attention to any updates from your professor and any support offices like advising or financial aid. As a student, you are protected under confidentiality laws. So we're not really allowed to email you to your personal email for a lot of things. So that's why we say check your Rebel email as often as you can. And we'll go a little bit over some tips for that. We have some tips on writing professional emails through my office at UNLV Online that I'll share with you at the end of this presentation. Something that I think that you will want to be doing pretty often is writing emails to professors or advisors. And so I just have a couple quick tips just to make yourself feel as professional as possible. Really, the main things that you want to be including in an email are you want to make sure to have your subject line. So something descriptive up in the top here in the subject. And then you want to make sure to address your professor in some way. If you don't know their name or how they want to be addressed, you can just say hello, but that kind of goes a long way. And then, asking your specific question and then, just saying since thank you. And then it's really not too complicated and you might already do that. But I feel like sometimes you might not have had a ton of reasons to write professional emails in the past, but now you might be writing one every couple weeks or so. So I like to just share a couple tips, really just being clear in your email and including a subject line and greeting your professor will go a long way. Trust me on that. And I think that being able to be professional will help you be able to feel confident because you will need to reach out to them from time to time. But I'm going to go over that a little bit in more detail soon. Okay, we'll also take a look at Webcampus a little bit. If you've used Canvas, it'll probably look really familiar, but your professors will usually organize things into by week, or if you are taking fully online classes, they will usually organize things by week or month. So actually, we'll look at this again. It's here. Just me, and then the Rebel Success Hub, again, is where you're going to access support services. So it really is all the time, more and more people are being added to the Rebel Success Hub that do offer support around campus. So probably a few times a year, you'll log into the Rebel Success Hub to schedule appointments or reach out to different places like financial. So in the Rebel Success Hub now, we've got advising, tutoring, financial aid, the registrar, which is who keeps your records, like your grades and your personal information. cashiering, which is who takes your money when you pay your bill, and then admissions as well. And then, okay, not yet. I'm gonna really quickly pause sharing because I'm gonna switch my screen. And we're gonna actually look at some of these programs. So if you're on your computer, and you want to follow along, I'll be going over a couple things that you might want to follow along with, but there's no pressure at all. So, okay, so let's start with um, your ACE ID. So you might have heard about your ACE ID. I'm sure you already have it, but this is your universal UNLV login. So there, like I mentioned, there are a lot of different accounts that you need to log into as a UNLV student, but you have one username and password for all of those accounts, and UNLV calls it your ACE ID. So if you haven't already registered your ACE ID, which I think you probably have, you'll just want to make sure to go to this website to set your ACE ID. And then something kind of cool is that if you log in directly to your ACE ID, you can actually see, and I actually didn't know this until recently, but if you log in through that website, you come to a dashboard where you can see all the apps that you have access to as a UNLV student. And so, you have your calendar, all your RebelMail, Webcampus. So some of these you may never use, but just something kind of cool that I didn't really know about until recently, and I find it to be a bit convenient. But as you log in, yes, I will go back to the QR code. I got a direct question about the feedback survey. I will go back to that in just a few minutes here when we get to the end. I shared that, but I will. Thank you so much for that. And so as you go to log in, you might notice that you're getting requests to enter in codes. UNLV does use multi-factor authentication, also sometimes called MFA, to make sure that your login remains secure. And those codes can be pretty tedious to enter in every time you log in if you're not on campus, which I'm not always. So one thing that you can do is you can download Okta, which is an app that will allow you to get a notification to your phone to log in, and you just press like, yes, it was me, and then it'll continue to log in. So if you do want to do that, you can set up your Okta through the website I just put in the chat. You just select enroll now, then you need to download the app and then follow the instructions. You'll just enter in UNLV and then you'll sign in with your ACE. And that'll make it slightly easier. But if that feels overly complicated, it's not required. Just something if you are feeling, you're getting annoyed with the amount of codes. Okay. So now I want to quickly look at my UNLV. Oh, thank you so much for that. So I'm sure you've been here before, but I just want to see if anyone has any questions or if they've had any challenges. Again, as I go through each of these programs, just let me know. But the ones that you'll want to pay attention to, if you have any messages here, the registrar puts these up to make sure that you know what you need to do and when. So just, if you have any messages, check those out. And of course, your financial aid for the fall, it's going to be the 2026 aid year. You'll go to the enrollment tile eventually to register in classes. Don't worry about this right now unless you need to switch your classes. Then we do have some guides we can give you. But from the side menu, all you really need to do is select class search and enroll, and then follow the prompts. If you need to swap your classes, you'll see the option to swap here. Then you'll be able to search by class title. And then the other thing that you might want to do is if you need to update your address or phone number, you can do so under personal information. You can also add a preferred name if you go by something different than what your legal name is listed as. So That's where you can do that. And then, of course, you will pay your bill under my account, and you'll see if there's a charge. The to-dos and the tasks also are automated. So I would always check those if you have any. I have a couple I need to check myself. So, but just check those, make sure that you got everything set. So just checking to see if anyone's had any issues with myUNLV. Seems like y'all are good. Next, I want to look at the next I want to look at. Next, I want to look at RebelMail. I have a few tips to share about your RebelMail. So RebelMail is run through Gmail. And if you already have a Gmail account, you might be taken to your personal email address instead of RebelMail. To add your RebelMail email, you can just select your profile picture in the upper right-hand corner and then select Add Account. I just got a direct message about asking what I mentioned before, and I wonder if you were let me know if it was about the login, like Okta, or if it was about my. I can definitely. Um, thank you again. But so if you already have a Gmail, go ahead and select Add Account. Type in your full RebelMail email address at unlv.nevada.edu, and then it'll have you log in with your ACE ID, and then you'll be able to switch back and forth between your accounts. And then, of course, it kind of works the same as any email would work, but a couple of things I would recommend doing in your settings. First of all, you can customize your Gmail, your RebelMail. So I like to personally, but of course you don't have to. But there's a bunch of different pictures here, and then you can upload your own. So, and then you can add a profile picture too. Our career services office get if you are able to come to campus at any point, our career services office does do headshots, and then there's a free place where you can take a professional headshot in our library. So you can always take a professional headshot and then upload it as your profile picture, just by selecting the little picture icon. But of course, you can upload any picture that you feel good about, and then if you select see all settings, something I would recommend doing myself as someone who makes a lot of mistakes is set an undo send. You can set it up to 30 seconds. And that way, if you accidentally need to undo an email you sent, you have some time. And then you also can scroll down a little bit further to almost the bottom where it says signature. And here you can add in your name and maybe your college to your major, or anything else that you might want to put here. A lot of times I'll see students with class of 2029 or something like that. So just something kind of cool, and then you can always have your signature at the end. And then something else. So when you do write a message, just so you know, you can add your signature. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but there's a little pen icon on the bottom. You can add in your signature by selecting it. Now, a couple other features in Gmail that I find to be helpful are labels. Gosh, I've totally cleared out my inbox, so I don't have any examples, but let's see. If you go down here, you can categorize your emails. So it can be helpful if you're getting a lot of emails about one class. You can create a category. Okay. So if you select the message and then you select this little, looks like a tab here, you can create a new label. And then it'll add it there to your email. And then if you go into the label itself, you can update the color. So if you're the type of person that really does well with that kind of thing, there's a lot of little features like that in Gmail that I think are pretty useful. Okay, so I would take a second, customize your Gmail, make it feel comfortable to you because you will spend a lot of time in here. And there's a few different ways that you can have the emails display if you click around here. These different options. If you do use one of these special inboxes that lets you have different tabs, just make sure you check the tabs because I do notice that sometimes my class updates will go. Okay, pause my screen again to switch around. If you have any questions, let me know. But I'm going to go into Webcampus just so that we all feel comfortable. Webcampus, where we'll be taking your online classes and submitting some of some coursework. So again, you just log into Webcampus with your ACE ID like anything else, and you can log in directly here. I'm going to go into a practice course I made for another orientation, so you can kind of ignore the YRSA part of this. But I just wanted to show you a little bit about how your class will be structured. So a lot of times professors will organize content into modules. So you'll see a menu here in your course. I would start either by going home, because that'll take you to their homepage, or by going to modules. And you'll see the different weeks usually here. They usually organize it into weeks. Professors will also post updates to the announcements tab, and you'll automatically be signed up to get an email every time your professor does send an announcement. And although it might feel a little bit tedious sometimes, I would highly recommend keeping those announcements on because it's easy to miss stuff, honestly, when your classes get going. So your professors will probably, if you are taking online classes or doing anything online in your classes, they'll probably have you do a few different types of assignments. They'll have you do discussion boards where you might introduce yourselves or respond to a prompt. And these work pretty like you would expect. You just select reply, type your response, and then reply. They might also have you submit assignments. There'll be some instructions, and then you'll be able to select start assignment. I got a great question in the chat about how do you keep your announcements on. When your Webcampus is set up, they'll automatically be set to on. So if you didn't do anything in your account settings, just leave it as it is. It should be good. But you can always double check if you go into account and then notifications. And so then under your notifications, you'll see all the ones you get emails for. And for some reason, oh, I see. You can have it send you a weekly summary, notify you immediately. If you do a weekly summary, you'll get one email a week with all the different. So I would say at least for, there are a lot, but at least for the course content and the announcements, I would keep those. Can you change it by yourself? You can, yeah. If it's not allowing you to change it, I'll follow up with you directly and see if we can get some assistance there. But you should be able to update it yourself by selecting the icon and then switching it. And then now it's set to. So, and then there's also the option to get a daily summary where once a day you get an email for each class. So totally up to you. But again, keep the announcements on. Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for your questions. I appreciate you. It's helpful to know what is interesting. So keep the announcements on. And then of course your grades, because that's to get. So in Webcampus, if you find yourself away from your courses, you don't know where to go, just select dashboard from this side menu. The side menu is always shows up, so that'll take you back directly to where your classes show up. And then you'll just see your classes. I have a bunch of stuff. You'll just see the classes that you have. So then you can click into your class, and you can also get there by selecting courses. The other thing your professors might have you do is do quizzes. So again, these act exactly like you would expect. If you if you take the quiz, if you get something correct or if you get something wrong, it'll typically show you right after. But sometimes your professors might have it set where it um, doesn't let you see the answers. If you are able to retake it, you'll see the option to take the quiz again, and you'll also see before you start it if there is a time. Typically, if you're in an online class, they'll give you a day or two to take the quiz if you don't have a live class. And then you might be able to see your grades here. Sometimes they do keep it hidden, and they'll give you an update a couple times a semester. But let's see here. Something else you might want to pay attention to in Webcampus that I find extremely helpful because I'm in classes is the calendar. This keeps all your deadlines. This will tell you when all your deadlines are. So if you go into the calendar, you'll see for every single class what you need to do. So definitely keep that in mind. And you can also message your professor directly by using the inbox. So a lot of times professors will let you know if they prefer to be emailed directly through RebelMail or if you can use the inbox, but a lot of professors do respond. So that's and then something else I wanted to mention is the student resources button. So if you select student resources, there's a bunch of resources that are here just for your convenience and also some different skills or tools that you can use in your classes. And one that I wanted to look at really quickly here is, I'm going to send you a direct link to this page in the chat. But this page here, I was mentioning earlier some tips I had about emailing faculty and staff. And from my work with students and from my own self, I know sometimes uh, it can feel a little intimidating to reach out to faculty and staff. But also, I know from being a faculty member here, we really want to hear from you. It is never a bother. And I think that reaching out and being proactive about reaching out when you need help or you have questions really shows that you care. And so never feel like I want you to feel empowered to reach out whenever you need anything. And there's some templates here that were built just to maybe make that a little easier if you do feel a little bit intimidated by reaching out if you need a deadline extension or if you're sick and you had to miss class or if you just don't understand the assignment. All those things are very so there's some tips and some guides here, and then if you select this link here, there's some editable templates. You can just select file, make a copy, and then it'll be your own teams and teams. And I think a question about the notifications again. So, or I think I got a question about keeping something hidden, and I'm not sure what you're talking meaning there. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think in the notifications when you come in here, the bell that's crossed out, that means that they won't be sent to you. So if there's something that's crossed out, it means the notifications. But if the bell is green, that means they're on. And then if there's a calendar icon, that they're also on. So hopefully that answered your question. Okie dokie. And welcome to those who joined a little late. I was just going through Webcampus right now. So we already looked at myUNLV and Gmail. So if we end a little early and you'd like some tips on those, we can stick around a little after. But I wanted to also quickly look at the Rebel Success Hub, just again to kind of show you what that looks like and what you'll use it for. So let's see, Rebel Success. I'm just going to go through this quick, but you can log in. Again, you'll log in with your ACE ID, which as a reminder is your UNLV login. So if you just go to that page I sent you and then select login, you need to select Rebel Success Hub again, and then it'll have log in with your ACE ID. And you'll be taken to your homepage. So this is where you would go to submit forms. So if you do need to submit your immunizations or any other document, financial aid or anything, you'll want to log into the Rebel Success Hub and then select submit documents. And it's also where you would go to verify financial verification. Now, one of the main reasons you might come in here too is to schedule with your academic advisor, which I highly recommend whenever you have questions. So to do so, from your homepage, you can select advising and student support, and then schedule an appointment to schedule. Now you'll also see, I don't have the not student, but you should also see the writing center and other support services here too. Schedule. You can also ask your advisor quick questions by selecting Get Help from Advising. So if you don't need to schedule a full appointment, select that Get Help, and then you'll see some options here to request a callback or get an email or change your major or minor. Or if you want to switch to be a fully online student, which are my students, so you'd be more than welcome. You can also do that here. And then you can also reach out directly to financial aid, the registrar, cashiering. So if you do have a question for someone, come here. Oops, you want to go to contact us. Come here, select the office you're looking for help from, and then you can write them a message. And they'll respond in the Rebel Success Hub, but you will get an email. So then you'll need to come back, log in, and you'll see that under my cases. So but you'll also get it soon. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. Okay, so great question from someone here. So if you don't understand a class or a subject, who should you contact? So I would recommend first reaching out. Well, but both your professor and our tutoring services are going to be really helpful to you in that situation. So I'd reach out to your professor, let them know that what you're struggling in, or if you have any specific questions about their lecture, or if you can go to their office hours. All of your professors, online professors or in person, will have at least 3 office hours a week where you can just drop in, and they might have ways for you to schedule appointments, but you can ask them questions. So I would definitely go to office hours. And then we also have tutoring services available at UNLV that are in most subjects that you would probably be taking in your first couple years, and they're super helpful. They are available in person at our library, and then there are online options as well. So I'm just going to put this in the chat. You'll hear about tutoring a good amount of times, but I do just want to say that it's a good resource. And then someone else that you might want to think about visiting would be an academic success coach. They are here to specifically help you with any academic challenges or tips, tricks. They're super helpful. They can talk to you about test anxiety, time management. They have practical things that they can kind of work with you through. So really, really highly recommend if you feel at all that they can Yes, come to the Academic Success Center. Exactly. The Academic Success Center is where it's at. They have really comprehensive resources, and everyone there is so smart and so nice. So I really okay. Lost my train, so I'm gonna pause my screen so I can. Yes, thank you, Jessica. Yes, you can also reach out to your peer mentor. That is, I'm sure that you've heard about your peer mentors, but they are your peers. They're a couple. I'm in a higher grade level than you, and they're here to kind of guide you along the way, point to different sources. So, especially since they might know a little bit more about you or your discipline, they would be a really good person to reach out to as well. Because they'll probably have some kind of insider knowledge too. Okay. Oh yeah. So here. So the last thing I want to look at before I kind of open it up for questions is I mentioned Google Workspace and I mentioned Microsoft. So I'm not really going to look too closely at these programs, but I did want to just quickly go over them and why you might want to use them. And throughout the semester, UNLV Online will be hosting some workshops about using Microsoft or Google. So if you are interested, we but you do have free access to Microsoft. So if you'd like to download it, I just put the link in the chat. You'll just want to select students under how to get software. Just make sure you select students, and then you can follow these instructions. There is an online site you can use, just kind of like Google, but then you can also download the apps. But I'm going to look at Google for the most part here because it is, I think, a good place to start if you don't need to do anything too complex. And again, you do have the Google Workspace Helping Student, which includes a calendar, which I find really helpful. So if you don't already use a calendar, or maybe you're like a physical write something down in your planner type of person, maybe you already have Google Calendar, but this is a really great way to keep track of things, schedule out your classes, schedule out your work time. You can add guests to your appointments. So if you want to like give your, little brother a heads up not to bother you at a certain time or something, you can invite him to your calendar event. But so that's something that's part of the Google Workspace, and it all integrates with your RebelMail. So that's one reason it's kind of nice to make sure you're logged in with your student email address, and you would just do that by selecting your profile picture as a reminder, same way you would in Gmail. And so I think I just every single moment of the day. But you also have access to Google Docs where you can write your essays, make outlines. It's pretty easy to collaborate on Google Docs. I would recommend just my quick tips, because I know we don't have tons of time here and there's a lot I could go over. But my quick tips, always give your documents titles because that's something that can get overwhelming pretty quick. And then you can always invite your friends to read it or, share it with a professor just by selecting share up here. And so that's kind of a nice thing about Google is that it's really easy to collaborate. And then Google Workspace also includes Google Slides, which is for making presentations. It's a pretty intuitive program. I like it, and they have all these different ways you can make different templates now too. And they have some cool features if you click around on the side menu to add different things to your slides that kind of jazz it up a little bit. So it kind of makes making your presentations a little bit. So if you do need to do presentations, you might want to start here, but you do have PowerPoint as well. And then the last thing I'm going to look at really quickly here, because I want to give you a few minutes for questions if you have any, is Google Sheets, which is where you would make spreadsheets if you need to. And they have templates up here too. So, even if you're looking to make like, I don't know, a different type of calendar or an assignment tracker, budget, they have some templates you can just put in here and then And then again, you can always share your documents just by selecting share and copying the link, or you can download this file, just like you. So you probably use Google at some point along the way. But I did just want to point that out. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Gosh, I totally forgot. Thank you for letting me know that you're still seeing that. The other okay, here no. Let me go really quickly go through it again. So Google Docs. Thank you so much. So Microsoft Office, I'm gonna put this link in the chat, which I forgot to do anyways. Go, download it there. And just make sure you select students here, and then you can follow these instructions to download it or use the web app. Google Docs is where you can go to write your essays, and they have a lot of templates here too, for different types of documents, where you can select create a blank document. Like I was saying, make sure you give it a title, and then you can share your documents with your classmates or professors by selecting share in the upper right hand corner and copying, or selecting file program. And then again, you just want to make sure you're logged in with your RebelMail. If you do want to use your student account, by selecting your profile picture, you can add an account, just like we were down. And then we have Google Slides for presentations. And I was just pointing out this side menu has some nice features to kind of jazz things up a little bit. So if you want to add in a quote, they have a bunch of different ways you can do that. So just a little feature I just learned about, which I think is pretty nice. And then another nice thing about Google is if you don't know where to find something, you can search the menus. So if you want to look up a template to add, you can just search the menu for templates, and then show. So again, it's probably more detail than you need right now, but just want to kind of show you that you do have access to these programs, and they can do a lot of what you probably need to do in classes. And then this is the spreadsheet program, Google Sheets. And again, they have a lot of templates up here. So sorry about that, but I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and open it up if anyone has any questions, or if they just feel